So, good morning, everyone. Let's maybe start with some prayers. I just try to find. Maybe just these two here. So let's take refuge 3 times and then generate bodhicitta. In the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I took refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and the rest, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I took refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and the rest, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I took refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and the rest, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the sacred happiness devoid of suffering. May they dwell in boundless equanimity that is free from attachment and aversion. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the sacred happiness devoid of suffering. May they dwell in boundless equanimity that is free from attachment and aversion. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the sacred happiness devoid of suffering. May they dwell in boundless equanimity that is free from attachment and aversion. So, good morning, everyone. I hope you're all well.
Bon dia a tothom, espero que estigueu tots bé.
And today we will look into the chapter number 8 of Bodhicaryavatara.
Avui mirarem el capítol número 8 del Bodhicaryavatara.
And this has like 4 main sections, we could say.
Aquest té 4 seccions principals, podríem dir.
First is like, the summary or the connection to the previous chapters.
La primera és com un resum o una connexió als capítols anteriors.
And then the second is that we try to find conducive or try to understand what are conducive conditions for meditation.
I la segona part és intentar trobar o intentar entendre quines són les condicions adequades que poden afavorir la meditació.
And then the actual meditation, which is in this case on bodhicitta.
I llavors la meditació en si, que en aquest cas és l'objecte de la qual és la bodhicitta.
And then the fourth section is very short. It's about some advice to practice shamatha.
I llavors la quarta secció és molt curta, són uns consells per com practicar samatha.
So, and why are we doing all this? The aim is that we want to see the truth. That is the big picture, sort of.
I per què estem fent tot això? L'objectiu és que volem veure la veritat. Aquesta és com la visió més macro, per dir-ho d'alguna manera.
And for that, we need wisdom, basically.
I per això necessitem saviesa, bàsicament.
And so how do we get the wisdom? For this we need a calm mind.
I com obtenim aquesta saviesa? Per això necessitem una ment calmada.
And for that we need an undistracted mind.
I per això necessitem una ment que no estigui distreta.
And for that we need to be free from negative emotions.
I per això necessitem estar lliures de les emocions negatives.
And for that we need to understand, how to work with them and how much side effects they have on our mind.
I per ser capaços de fer això hem d'entendre com funcionen i quins tipus d'efectes secundaris tenen a la nostra ment.
And therefore, we also develop revulsion towards them.
I per tant també desenvolupem com repugnància cap a elles.
And that actually then leads to more space and more compassion, that we can have towards others.
I això en realitat condueix a que tinguem més espai, més compassió cap als altres.
And since it's the Bodhicaryavatara, so it is about the heart of Bodhisattvas, the Bodhisattva. So this space and loving kindness and compassion towards others is like crucial in this text.
I com és el Bodhicaryavatara, que és com el cor dels bodhisattvas, del que és la bodhicitta, l'espai, l'amor bondadós i la compassió són molt importants en aquest cas.
And so in the first verse of chapter 8, Shantideva is saying, yeah, now we have developed enthusiasm or diligence in this way.
En el primer vers, Shantideva el que diu és que hem desenvolupat ja l'entusiasme o la diligència d'aquesta manera.
And that means we have removed laziness, the 3 types of laziness that we talked yesterday about, and we have gathered the 6 strength to have diligence.
Això vol dir que hem eliminat els 3 tipus de mandra dels que parlàvem ahir i que hem acumulat els 6 tipus de fortalesa dels que descrivíem també.
Then now we need, he says in the first verse, now we should place our mind in concentration.
I ara en el primer vers diu que el que hem de fer és col·locar la nostra ment en la concentració. Oh, we can't hear you, Arne.
I could hear myself. Because without like a focused mind, we cannot really like develop spiritual qualities.
Perquè sense una ment concentrada no podem desenvolupar qualitats especials.
Because our mind will run after those things that we have attachment to and will run away from those things that we have aversion to.
Perquè la nostra ment correrà cap a les coses per les que tenim aferrament i escaparà de les coses per les que sentim aversió.
So that is a constant running in our mind and constant restlessness, and that of course is not bringing us to liberation.
Perquè hi ha com la nostra ment està corrent tota l'estona, no hi ha descans, i això evidentment no ens està apropant a la alliberació.
And this constant running is actually nice to reflect. I never thought of it, but actually it is in the Tibetan word for sentient beings. One word is drowa.
I aquest com corre tota l'estona, de fet, és una manera com interessant de pensar-hi, que no hi havia pensat mai, diu, i que en la paraula en tibetà per éssers intents és drowa.
Normally it's translated as wanderer, because we are wandering through the 6 realms of samsara. And I think we do so by this restlessness, that we are running always after things we want and away from things that we fear.
I que sovint es tradueix com a caminant o passejant o el viatjant a través de tots els éssers de l'existència i té relació amb això que acabem de dir, perquè estem com sense descans transitant aquests mons a causa de la por.
And then Shantideva in verse 1 concludes, for those whose mind is distracted, they dwell in the fangs of kleshas, or negative emotions.
I Shantideva va dir, com va conclou, que per aquells que tenen una ment distreta, descansen en els ullals dels kleshas.
Yeah, so this wandering mind, or this wandering makes us very vulnerable. That's basically the thing, We are very vulnerable to have klesha attacks.
I aquesta ment que sempre està com en marxa ens fa molt vulnerables. Som molt vulnerables als atacs dels kleshas.
And therefore what to do? Yesterday in verse 74, in the 7th chapter, Shantideva said we should rely on instructions of a lama.
Llavors, què podem fer amb això? Ahir, al vers 74, al 7è capítol, Shantideva deia que havíem de confiar o de sostenir-nos gràcies a les instruccions d'un lama.
Yeah, and so second, so the lama is the first, and then second, that we really listen to her or his advice, and then thirdly, that we contemplate on it, and fourthly, that we meditate on her or his advice.
Llavors, la primera cosa que hem de fer és això, trobar les instruccions d'un lama. La segona és realment escoltar-les, la tercera contemplar-les i la quarta seria meditar en elles.
And so this meditation is of course important, and maybe we could say then we embody the view by our conduct.
Llavors, la meditació realment és important, evidentment, però podríem dir que és llavors quan som capaços d'encarnar la visió a través de la nostra conducta.
And maybe I wanted to quote another text by Shantideva. I don't know if you know that, Shiksha Samuchaya, and I put it in the chat, but I will also read it line by line. I think that summarizes this chapter 8 very well.
I voldria citar també un altre text de Shantideva, no sé si el coneixeu, és el Shiksha Samuchaya, que voldria llegir també perquè crec que resumeix aquest capítol 8 molt bé.
So cultivate forbearance and seek the teachings.
One second, sorry.
No problem. So cultivate patience and then go to the teachings and receive them.
Llavors diu, cultiva la paciència i llavors ves cap a l'ensenyança.
And then in the forest take up your abode.
In the first, sorry?
In the forest. So then basically go in the forest and live there.
I llavors diu, ves cap al bosc i viu allà.
And then practice meditation there.
Practica la meditació allà.
And contemplate on the repulsiveness and other things.
I contempla sobre la repugnància de les altres coses.
Yeah, this repugnantia, that will be a big topic today also, you know, what is repulsive here and what not. There will be many funny, but maybe politically incorrect things that Shantideva is saying.
I això serà un gran tema avui, aquesta com repugnància que hem de desenvolupar. Hi haurà coses que segurament seran gracioses, però també segurament seran políticament incorrectes del que diu Shantideva.
Anyway, so we're still in the first part, you know, like how to understand the importance of maybe meditation, the summary, and how it is linked to the previous parameters. And now we come to the second verse.
Això és encara la primera part en què estem entenent la importància de la meditació i fent com un resum que la lliga a les paramites anteriors. I ara passem al segon vers.
So if Shantideva says in the first verse, we are sort of trapped in the fangs of negative emotions, of kleshas, then the question is, how can we get free of that? Or how can we get out of that?
I si al primer vers Shantideva diu que estem atrapats als ullals de les emocions negatives, la pregunta és com podem alliberar-nos d'això.
And as I said already, the wandering mind, the distracted mind is the problem.
I com he dit abans, aquesta ment sense descans, aquesta ment distreta és el problema.
So we have to free ourselves from that. And how do we do that?
Així que hem d'alliberar-nos d'això i com ho fem?
Basically, the key word here is isolation. You know, we isolate our body from outer distractions and we isolate our mind from inner distractions.
I aquí la paraula clau és l'aïllament. Aïllem el nostre cos de les distraccions externes i aïllem la nostra ment de les distraccions externes.
And so in verse 2, Shantideva is saying, through solitude of body and mind, no distractions will occur.
I en aquest segon vers, això diu Shantideva, que a través del cos i la ment no hi haurà distraccions.
And of course, that can refer to forests and mountains and so on.
I això, evidentment, pot referir-se al bosc o les muntanyes i de més.
Wait, I show you a nice example of an isolated mountain.
Ara us voldria ensenyar un exemple d'una muntanya ben aïllada.
Nice, huh? This is where Casa Virupa is here, this thing.
Aquí és on està Casa Virupa.
Okay, sorry. So that is definitely a good way, but of course we take our samsaric mind with us. So wherever we go, we could be equally distracted, but still outer environment, and that is a big topic today, plays an important role to calm our mind.
Llavors això és important, però el que passa és que on sí que anem podríem portar la distracció amb nosaltres, però bueno, igualment de totes maneres l'ambient extern és un tema important en aquest capítol.
But maybe if we live in a city, then yeah, maybe we don't look at our mobile phone or we are offline for a couple of days. That could also be helpful, but also it's no guarantee because again, our samsaric mind is still not switched off.
Llavors, si vivim en una ciutat, podríem no mirar el telèfon durant un parell de dies, però de totes maneres això no és una garantia perquè la nostra ment encara no està apagada.
Yeah, but the best for our distraction and wandering thought is really what we call renunciation, of things.
I el millor per a la distracció, per aquesta ment sense descans, és el que diem la renúncia cap a les coses.
And renunciation is just that we lose interest in things.
I la renúncia és simplement que perdem interès en les coses.
In worldly things or distractive things or confusing things.
En les coses mundanes o les coses que ens distreuen o les coses confuses.
Yeah, because we understand they are meaningless or very impermanent, or they don't have any essence, or they're very expensive, or they create pain and all these things.
Perquè entenem que no tenen sentit, que són impermanents, que no tenen essència, que són massa cares o que ens fan patir.
And so it's really not like that we are forcing ourselves to let go of them, but it's like Khyentse Rinpoche is saying, we just move on, sort of. He didn't say that word, but I think that fits here.
Llavors no és com si ens estiguéssim forçant a deixar-les anar, és simplement que avancem més enllà d'elles.
His example is, for example, if kids are at the beach and building sand castles, then at some point, and they are totally immersed in that, and totally in that sandcastle world and really thinking about living there even inside, but then at some point when they're older enough, they just don't care anymore, and just have no interest in that. They're moved on, and nobody has, and nobody had to force them to get rid of sandcastles, but just a natural development.
Llavors, aquí Khyentse Rinpoche se'm posa l'exemple d'aquests nens que juguen a la platja i estan fent com castells de sorra i estan totalment immersos en això, en aquest món dels castells de sorra. Viuen allà dins, en aquest món, però sempre arriba un moment en què ja no els importa, que ja han passat a una altra cosa. Ningú els ha forçat a deixar anar això, sinó que simplement és un desenvolupament natural.
Or then, there are other things that we do as teenagers, or and so on, and then that is super exciting and seems to be the most important thing. But then also, 10 years later, we have moved on, and we are not interested in those things anymore. So that is renunciation, we naturally renounce these things, like, let's say, from each decade, to the next decade.
Llavors també hi ha altres coses que fem com a adolescents que trobem com molt emocionants i molt importants, i 10 anys més tard ja hem passat a una altra cosa. Llavors això és la renúncia, que no és algo forçat, sinó que és natural, en què passem simplement a una altra cosa.
And so the idea is, we can do that like from decade to decade, and if we're lucky we live 80 years, and then we renounce all these things one after the other. But maybe we can fast forward, and renounce all things altogether, already like in a week or something, and then be free from attachment to these worldly things.
Llavors la idea és que podem fer això com dècada a dècada i anar deixant anar coses una darrere l'altra, anar fent petites renúncies, però la idea aquí realment és que fem com un avançat ràpid, que deixem anar totes les coses en una setmana o una cosa així, i que llavors estiguem lliures de l'aferrament.
And in verse 2, Shantideva is saying, therefore, if we think about that, we should forsake the worldly life.
I en aquest segon vers, Shantideva el que diu és que si pensem en això, hauríem d'abandonar la vida mundana.
And then completely discard, or abandon all distractions or confusions or negative emotions.
I que llavors podem descartar o abandonar tota distracció, confusió o emocions negatives.
And we know that also from the 37 practices of a Bodhisattva, their Tokme Sangpo is urging us to leave our homeland.
To leave our?
Homeland.
I això ho coneixem també a partir de les 37 pràctiques del Bodhisattva, en què Tokme Sangpo ens anima a marxar del nostre país natal o de la nostra terra natal.
And Khyentse Rinpoche is saying we can understand that in two ways, like, yes, physically leave, let's say, my home, like in a city, and go to the solitude.
I Khyentse Rinpoche diu que podem entendre això de dues maneres. Sí, físicament podem dir que marxem de la nostra casa, del que era la nostra llar.
And the other meaning is that we leave our homeland is like leaving our comfort zone, leaving our habitual cocoon, that we are in.
I l'altre significat és que marxem de la nostra zona de confort, que marxem d'aquest niu en el que estem.
And so we can understand it in this outer way or this inner way. And I think best is so the inner way is of course more important, but the outer way of leaving the homeland is of course also very helpful.
Llavors podem entendre això de manera com externa o de manera interna, i evidentment la manera interna és més important, però també aquesta cosa externa de marxar de la terra natal també pot ser molt útil.
And since I mentioned it, Tokme Sangpo's text, 37 practices of a Bodhisattva, he then in the same verse, he's continuing saying, because our attachment to family and friends, is like a strong river, that is taking us.
I com ja ha esmentat les 37 pràctiques del Bodhisattva de Tokme Sangpo, en aquest mateix vers continua dient que l'aferrament és com un riu molt potent que se'ns emporta.
And also our aversion, he is saying, is like blazing fire, that we have against these people that we don't like.
I l'aversió, diu, és com un foc que crema molt fort i a la gent que no ens agrada, aquest sentiment que tenim cap a la gent que no ens agrada.
And since we are sort of in the darkness of ignorance, when we are in that destructive samsaric life, we have no idea what to adopt and what to abandon.
I com estem en aquesta foscor de la ignorància, de la vida samsàrica distreta, no som capaços de veure què hem d'adoptar i què hem d'abandonar.
This is also what Shantideva says, and then in the third verse of this 8th chapter.
I això també és el que diu Shantideva. Llavors, en el tercer vers d'aquest mateix capítol.
So therefore he says, yeah, we should follow the advice from the wise people, and leave our homeland and go into solitude.
I llavors en aquest tercer vers diu que hauríem de seguir aquests consells de la gent sàvia i marxar de la nostra llar i anar a viure en soledat.
Yeah, by the way, now with the third verse, we start to come to the second big part of chapter 8, which is having conducive conditions for meditation.
I llavors amb aquest tercer vers entrem en la segona gran part d'aquest 8è capítol, que és quines són les condicions adequades per desenvolupar la meditació.
Yeah, and within that first we leave the normal world and we find a conducive retreat place, let's say.
I aquí, en aquest tema, primer el que fem és marxar del món habitual i trobar un lloc de retir com adequat.
And then the next is like giving up wandering thoughts. These two, they constitute that we find conducive conditions for meditation.
I la segona d'aquestes condicions és el deixar anar els pensaments errants. Aquests dos aspectes és el que és propici per la meditació.
And that is what I basically meant earlier. Physical isolation, like finding a good place, and mental isolation, like how did I say, like that we are getting rid of wandering thoughts. Yeah.
I això és el que havia dit abans. Hi ha un aïllament físic i també un aïllament mental, que en aquest cas vol dir això, com abandonar els pensaments errants.
And we are not leaving the world because we hate people, like a misanthrope, I think is the Greek word.
I no estem deixant el món perquè odiem a la gent com un misàntrop.
But like maybe like Prince Siddhartha, he left his palace, not because he hated them, but it was just too distractive and it was not conducive. So therefore he had to leave in order to practice shamatha and vipassana, let's say, and then come back full of love and compassion to help them.
I això és com el príncep Siddhartha, que va deixar el palau no a causa de l'odi, sinó perquè el distreia i, per tant, havia d'abandonar aquest palau per practicar vipassana i samatha i ser capaç de tornar ple d'amor bondadós i compassió.
Yeah, and to do that, one has to do some misanthrope lookalike contemplation.
I per fer això, el que sí que se'ns demana és fer com una mena de contemplació una mica misàntropa.
So where we are contemplating that samsaric beings, if we are close to them, that they only bring us suffering and confusion and destruction.
I aquí contemplem com la nostra relació amb els éssers samsàrics i que si estem a prop d'ells, això només ens porta confusió i patiment.
And people, we are also attached to each other, and by that, we have so much expectations and frustrations all the time.
I estem aferrats els uns als altres i a causa d'això tenim moltes expectatives i frustracions en tot moment.
And the more we are attached, I know I'm sure you know the saying, the more we suffer. It's like drinking salty water, and it will not really quench our thirst, but we want more and more and get more and more obsessed with things.
Quan més estiguem com aferrats, de fet, segur que coneixem aquesta petita dita, més patirem. Això és com beure aigua salada, que no mai satisfà la nostra set, sinó que ens obsessionem més i més per aquestes coses.
And sentient beings are sort of not satisfiable, like they're never, because samsaric beings always have this half-empty glass mentality, where they always look very pessimistically and never satisfied, never content. So that's why it's very challenging to be with samsaric beings.
I això és, per això els éssers intents són difícils de satisfer, perquè, de fet, aquests éssers samsàrics sempre tenen una mentalitat de veure el got mig buit. Sempre tenen una mirada pessimista cap a la vida, mai acontentats. Llavors, per això és un gran repte, en realitat, estar rodejat d'ells.
Of course, we are not blaming the others, but still we are influenceable. So therefore, it makes a difference with whom we associate with.
I, evidentment, no estem culpant els altres, però sí que som influenciables i, per tant, marca una diferència de qui estem rodejats.
And therefore, that is, if we look at it from the other side, it shows sort of the importance of Sangha, that we have good, supportive people, similar-minded people with similar values and views around us. That is really helpful.
I, per tant, mirant-ho des de l'altra banda, això ens mostra la importància de la Sangha, allò que és la importància de tenir gent al voltant que ens doni suport i que tinguin una mentalitat i una visió similars. Això realment és molt útil.
Yeah, because Khyentse Rinpoche says we are very gullible, influenceable, and therefore, if we are too close with samsaric beings, that will influence us, and we will think similar to those samsaric ways, and that will create many problems.
I Khyentse Rinpoche diu que realment som molt, molt influenciables i, per tant, si estem massa a prop dels éssers samsàrics, això ens influenciarà i ens farà pensar de maneres samsàriques.
Just for reference, we are sort of in verse 9 now, or have been now.
I només per donar una referència, estem més o menys cap al vers 9 o l'acabem de passar.
And then verse 10 is also saying, samsaric friends, easily they become enemies, and there's a back and forth, and so it's not really, they're not really, the relationships are not stable or reliable.
I el vers 10 també diu que això, que els amics de samsàrics fàcilment es converteixen en enemics. Hi ha aquest tipus d'anada i tornada i que les relacions en aquest sentit no són estables i no podem confiar en elles.
And samsaric beings get very angry, even though it's actually, even though everything is going well, and actually there's many reasons for being happy.
I els éssers samsàrics, de fet, s'enfaden molt fàcilment i fins i tot quan tot està anant bé i hi ha molts motius per ser feliços.
Or they get angry if one tells the truth.
O s'enfaden si un diu la veritat.
Or they get jealous, if one is too involved in Dharma stuff.
O es posen gelosos si un dedica massa temps al Dharma.
So Shantideva is a couple of times saying, it's really difficult to please samsaric beings.
I per això Shantideva diu que realment és molt difícil complaure als éssers samsàrics.
And we know that, of course, Jesus or Buddha, they had people around them that who were just not happy and didn't get Buddha or Jesus,
I això ho sabem, que, per exemple, Jesús o el Buda tenien gent al voltant que no eren feliços i que no aprofitaven aquesta presència de tenir el Buda o Jesús al costat.
And Yeah, so that's why, yeah, it's really difficult to please sentient beings.
Així que per això és molt difícil complaure els éssers intents.
Like verse 12 is also saying, yeah, if they feel somebody is higher than them, then they are jealous and envious.
El vers 12 també diu que, per exemple, si senten que algú és superior a ells, també es tornen gelosos o envejosos.
Or when they perceive us as being equal or peers, then they're getting competitive with us.
O si cap a aquells que veuen com a iguals o com a companys, diguem, es posen competitius.
And when they perceive us as being lower, then they're getting arrogant and mean towards us.
I quan ens perceben com a inferiors, es posen arrogants o amb mala intenció cap a nosaltres.
And yeah, if we say good things about them or praise them, then they become very bloated, very like arrogant.
Sí, i també si diem coses bones o els hi fem lloances, es tornen molt arrogants o orgullosos.
So yeah, it will always end up like that. And yeah, of course, they get angry if they hear something from us what they don't like. So it's endless. They're always like, that's the nature of samsara. Once you are in samsara, you always find mistakes in whatever is happening, and you always react in a negative emotional way.
I llavors sempre acabem així, com s'enfaden fins i tot quan senten qualsevol cosa cap a nosaltres. És com que no té fi. Sempre trobem errors o troben errors i sempre hi ha reacció en termes d'una emoció negativa.
And therefore, yogis like Milarepa, they really sing songs about how important it is to distance from samsaric beings.
I yogis com Milarepa, per exemple, canten cançons sobre com d'important és distanciar-se dels éssers samsàrics.
I will post one song in the chat. So he's singing, and of course I'm not singing that. When I'm sick, there's no one who will worry for me.
I ara diu, posarà una d'aquestes cançons al xat i diu, quan estic malalt no hi ha ningú que es preocupi de mi.
And when I die, there's no one who will weep.
I quan mori, ningú plorarà per mi.
So that is good for him, he's free from these emotions of other beings. And so he's saying, if in this mountain solitude I die,
I això és com bo per ell, és com per fi està lliure de les emocions dels altres éssers. I diu, si en aquesta solitud de la muntanya moro,
the wishes of this yogi will have been fulfilled.
Els desitjos d'aquest yogi s'hauran complert.
And I also have one more quote from Longchenpa, and I put it in the chat, and it says, in towns or monasteries, lonely places, forest groves.
I tinc una altra cita de Longchenpa que ara posa al xat i diu, als pobles o als monestirs, als llocs de solitud, als boscos o als prats.
And wherever you may be, seek not for friends.
I allà on siguis, no busquis amics.
Whoever you are with, keep to yourself.
Amb qui sigui que estiguis, mantingues-te amb tu mateix.
No attachment, no resentment.
Sense aferrament, sense ressentiment.
That is the counsel or advice of my heart.
Aquest és el consell des del meu cor.
I think it's good to meditate on these verses. But yeah, maybe if you have time, do that.
Diu, crec que està bé meditar en aquests versos, però bueno, si tenim temps si teniu temps, feu.
Okay, then another part, Shantideva is looking at, and we are still like in the physical isolation, and so now he's contemplating on worldly gain or wealth, and that we should let go of that too. Not only samsaric beings, but also samsaric gains.
I llavors una altra part, aquí encara en la secció de l'aïllament físic, Shantideva parla de contemplar sobre els guanys mundans o les riqueses, dient que hem de deixar anar això també.
And one thing is that comes often in the text, they always think if one is getting rich or has worldly wealth, that it always implied negative actions to obtain it, and so these misdeeds, we will suffer from the karmic consequences of these.
I, de fet, sovint al text es diu com que si un s'està enriquint, sempre això implica accions negatives per haver aconseguit aquesta riquesa i, per tant, que patirem de les conseqüències kàrmiques d'aquestes accions.
Yeah, so basically to get wealth or worldly things, a lot of negative emotions are involved or a lot of misdeeds are involved, and that will create future suffering.
I, per tant, diu que per aconseguir coses mundanes o riquesa, moltes emocions negatives o moltes malifetes han tingut a veure amb aquest fet i, per tant, seguirem creant patiment.
And then in verse 20, even if we have gained that, like material wealth or maybe fame and so on, that is impermanent, when we die, that's it, we cannot take that with us.
I el vers 20 diu que fins i tot si hem guanyat tota aquesta riquesa, tota aquesta fama i de més, tot això és impermanent, no podem emportar-nos amb nosaltres.
Like, we will, like we came nakedly, sort of, we have to leave nakedly this theater of life.
I quan morim, és com hem nascut nus, també haurem de marxar nus en aquest teatre de la vida.
And also, like, if we are rich or have wealth, like in verse 23, then people will say bad things about us, that, you, like what I said earlier, you are only rich because you I don't know, you are corrupt or you did negative things,
I fins i tot quan tinguem riquesa siguem rics, en el vers 23 diu que la gent dirà coses negatives sobre nosaltres, com per exemple que només som rics perquè som corruptes o perquè hem fet coses negatives.
And of course, even if we have a lot of things, that is not satisfying us either, because we might have constant fear of losing it.
I fins i tot quan tenim moltes coses, això no ens satisfà tampoc, perquè tenim una por constant de perdre-les.
And therefore, let go of that wish to accumulate worldly stuff or wealth.
I per tant, deixa anar aquest desig d'acumular coses mundanes o riquesa.
And then maybe so I think that's maybe it about this physical, like material wealth, so that also we have to renounce. And again, renounce not in the sense of forcing ourselves, but by really contemplating about the shortcomings that Shantideva is showing here, and by that understanding that it's just not worth it, but that it creates much more suffering than long-term happiness.
I això és com l'aspecte principal d'aquesta cosa de la riquesa com material. I el missatge principal de Shantideva és que hem de renunciar a ella, no forçant-nos, sinó contemplant els problemes que té, els problemes que Shantideva ens està ensenyant, entenent que no val la pena perquè l'únic que fa és crear patiment i no felicitat a llarg termini.
And then Shantideva with verse 25 and following verses, he's like really praising the qualities of solitude, that if we are really physically removing ourselves from the samsaric business.
I al vers 25, Shantideva fa una lloança de la soledat, dient com realment ens permet extreure'ns d'aquesta ajetreo de samsara.
Yeah, busyness, I don't know, but I just meant like it's so wild, the wildness, of samsara, samsaric life, which is so distractive, where so easily emotions are stimulated and so on, so remove ourselves from that.
I, volia dir com aquesta cosa com tan salvatge de samsara, i el que ens permet la solitud és extreure'ns una mica de tot això.
Yeah, and so then he's praising the solitude and also the animals who live there, like, yes, the birds and deers and trees, they don't speak badly. And they're just very peaceful, and it's very nice to be with them.
I llavors fa una lloança a la solitud i també tots els animals i éssers que viuen allà, com els ocells, els arbres. Ells no parlen de manera negativa, és molt hi ha molta pau en el fet d'estar envoltat d'ells.
Yeah, and just enjoy, this peacefulness and the nature, and don't look back, to where you came from. Don't be attached to what your homeland that you left behind.
I simplement gaudeix d'aquesta pau, de la natura, sense mirar enrere cap a la llar o el país que hem deixat enrere.
And then, in this solitude, with not really much material belongings, then there is no fear of losing things, and of course no fear of getting things, and one might not even need clothes, if one is really like in solitude.
I a la solitud el que també està molt bé és que no hi ha necessitat de tenir com pertenences materials, no hi ha por de perdre o ganes d'obtenir coses, i fins i tot depèn d'on estiguem, potser tampoc cal ni tan sols portar roba o tenir-ne.
And we might find dead animals, or we might run into, maybe that's not so possible in Europe, but we might run into human corpses somewhere. But and if we do so, then that's also good. We can use the sight of them to contemplate on impermanence, and that we are very mortal as well.
I potser ens trobem animals morts, o fins i tot, potser no a Europa, però podríem trobar-nos amb un cos humà, en un cadàver humà en algun lloc. I si això ens passa, també està molt bé, perquè podem utilitzar el fet de veure'ls com una manera de contemplar la impermanència.
So this contemplation on impermanence is like an ongoing theme in Buddhism, coming again and again.
I aquesta contemplació sobre la impermanència és un tema recurrent al budisme, que apareix un i altre cop.
And because it's obvious, I have not been born like how I look like now, but of course I was this, I don't know how to call it, this, this ovum and sperm in the beginning, and then, and slowly we grew out of that, like 4 cells, 8 cells, 16 cells, 32 cells, and so on. And so this is built up, and of course that will collapse at some point.
I no cal ni tan sols que ens mirem com som ara mateix, però que pensem en què en un moment érem un òvul i una esperma i a poc hem anat creixent cap a 4 cèl·lules, 8, 16 i ens hem anat construint fins al que som ara i això evidentment també en un moment col·lapsarà, desapareixerà.
And of course, from Buddhist point of view, we all have our subjective perspective, and therefore we cannot really share much. So they also think like, yeah, in the moment of birth, actually I was alone. The experience that I had, nobody else had. And then when I die, that is also a very personal thing that I cannot really share with others. And so that is leading to the next stanza 32.
I, evidentment, des del punt de vista budista, aquesta perspectiva hi ha una perspectiva subjectiva, no la podem realment compartir. En el moment del naixement vam tenir una experiència que ningú més va tenir i això serà el mateix en el moment en què morirem. No podrem compartir aquesta experiència i això és el que ens porta a la següent estrofa.
Like Dzongsar Khyentse Rinpoche's example is like, even if we are going to the movie together, watching the same movie, we all have so different experience of it, and we can't, of course, we have similar experiences maybe, but we have so many other unshared perceptions and experiences. So we just see everything. It's a very personal thing, everything, and we cannot really share this with others. And likewise, verse 32 is talking in that direction.
I aquí l'exemple de Dzongsar Khyentse Rinpoche és que fins i tot si mirem la mateixa pel·lícula tindrem experiències diferents d'ella. Evidentment seran similars, però hi haurà tantes altres percepcions no compartides o experiències no compartides que tot això és sempre molt personal. No podem realment compartir-ho amb els altres. I de la mateixa manera, el vers 32 va en aquesta direcció.
And he also said that this 32 is actually the favorite stanza of Jamgon Khyentse Rinpoche.
I també va dir que aquesta estrofa 32 era l'estrofa preferida de Jamgon Khyentse Rinpoche.
So let's go through it word by word. So it says, at birth I was born alone.
I repassem-ho paraula per paraula. Diu, en néixer vam venir al món sols.
Of course, the mother was there, but I mean, that was our personal subjective experience that our mother didn't have, of course.
I, evidentment, la nostra mare hi era, però la nostra experiència subjectiva no la va viure la nostra mare.
And then at death too, I shall die alone.
I en morir també morirem sols.
And this pain cannot be shared by others.
I aquest dolor no pot ser compartit amb els altres.
What use are the troublemaking or obstacle-making friends?
I, per tant, per què necessitem amics que ens creïn obstacles?
Yeah, I guess that is also good to reflect on that one. So that was 32.
Suposa que també potser és un bon vers per reflexionar una estona. I aquest era l'estrofa 32.
And then 33 is saying that we are all just like travelers, like we are going into our different directions. Maybe airport is a good example. We all meet like very shortly, and then we go to very different directions, and we will never meet again like that,
I en aquest sentit diu que som, en el vers 33, som tots viatjants, anem tots en direccions diferents, com potser l'aeroport en aquest sentit és un bon exemple, perquè ens trobem durant un breu moment i després marxem en direccions diferents i no ens tornarem a trobar.
And therefore we should really aim to isolate our body, like to go to a solitude and also to die there. That is important for many yogis to die alone, because then nobody's having big emotions, during our dying process.
I per això l'objectiu és aïllar el nostre cos en solitud i morir allà, morir sols, perquè així no hi ha ningú que estigui tenint emocions molt fortes en el nostre procés de mort.
And then to conclude this, in verse 38, conclude this physical isolation, then verse 38 is saying that we should give up all other intentions, but only have one single thought, which is...
I per concloure això, en el vers 38, en l'estrofa 38, per concloure aquesta explicació com física, diu que hauríem d'abandonar totes les altres intencions i tenir-ne una sola, que és...
Yeah, to find a solitude place, because that is important as a condition, and then because then we can do shamatha and vipassana.
I trobar un lloc solitari, que és important com a condició, perquè llavors podem dur a terme shamatha i vipassana.
Yeah, and shamatha means like calming our mind, make our mind calm and clear, and vipassana means like we have insight.
I samatha vol dir que calmar la ment, fer que estigui calmada i clara, i vipassana és...
And oh, sorry.
I'm missing a word. Un enteniment o una comprensió.
Okay, so that concludes like this physical isolation, that we go to a solitude, and then the next would be mental isolation, so that we give up our distractions or wandering thoughts.
Això conclou la part sobre l'aïllament físic, que ens centrem en aquesta solitud i llavors parlem de l'aïllament mental, en què parlem d'aquests pensaments que ens distreuen.
So maybe if it's okay, we just take 5 minutes break to do whatever, and then we go through that. Will be verse 39 to 88, and I think that will not take so long, and then we can discuss also, and then we conclude at 12. So maybe we meet like 11:05 Spanish time.
Llavors, si ens sembla bé, farem una petita pausa de 5 minuts i llavors mirarem tot això, que són dels versos 38 a 58.
Yeah, just 5 minutes.
88. I ens trobem a les 11:05.
Okay, thank you. Is Casa Europa there?
Yes, just a second.
Take your turn. I think your ratio of people and bathrooms is worse than any of us here at home.
That is very probable. Okay.
And thank you for translating, by the way, Lamala.
I'm not translating. Oscar is.
Really?
Yes. Look, his
Hi.
voice.
Yes,
It's not mine.
It's me.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
But definitely not Bertha, that I noticed. Oh, thank you, Oscar, then.
Yeah, I'm sorry for all the mistakes. I hope you will forgive me.
I'm sorry for my mistakes. So now will be fun or strange, depending on how we look at it. So we're talking about giving up wandering thoughts. So that is verse 39 to 88.
Ara estem parlant dels pensaments, d'abandonar els pensaments errants, que va de les estrofes 39 a la 88.
That's true, it's Oscar's voice, yeah. And first, yeah, so basically that will go a lot about attachment, desire, because that is the main problem. You know, we want, and then we glue to things, you know, we get stuck with things.
I això en parlarem molt de l'aferrament i del desig, perquè quan volem ens enganxem a les coses, diguem-ne.
Of course, sort of like simultaneously is also the opposite, you know, like aversion, because as soon as I want A, I'm having aversion to not get A. It doesn't matter, just the thing. So as soon as I want something, I have aversion to not getting it, or I have aversion to everybody who's destroying or endangering it.
I, evidentment, simultàniament també tenim l'oposat, que és l'aversió. Quan volem A, també tenim una aversió a que no tinguem A. O quan volem qualsevol cosa, tenim una aversió no només cap al fet de no tenir aquesta cosa, sinó també cap a tothom o tot allò que pugui estar destruint-ho o posant-ho en perill.
Yeah, but in the 12 links of interdependence, the 12 nidanas, craving or grasping is mentioned. It's just this wanting or getting sticky, you know, to something and getting stuck there. So that is really the cause problem. And therefore, Shantideva is addressing that here.
I en els 12 vincles d'interdependència, els nidanes, també s'esmenta això, que el fet de voler o el fet de desitjar molt fort o aferrar-se a alguna cosa ens fa que ens enganxem a això i això genera problemes. I Shantideva està parlant d'això en aquests fragments.
So in first, Shantideva is understanding that we have a lot of attachment to a lover, you know, or a partner.
I Shantideva primer parla que hem d'entendre com que quan tenim com molt d'aferrament cap a un amant o un company o companya.
I think also Guru Rinpoche said that the biggest attachment for a man is the body of a woman. And then, yes, please, you can say it the other way around in all other ways.
I Guru Rinpoche creu que va dir que l'aferrament més fort per a un home és el cos d'una dona i evidentment podem dir-ho de múltiples maneres i girar-ho d'una banda o d'una altra.
Yeah, so the point is we have a lot of attachment, also in this desireful, lustful, sexual way. And so Shantideva is talking about this now.
I aquí el que és important és que tenim molt d'aferrament d'una manera així com molt plena de desig, molt sexual. I Shantideva està parlant d'això en aquest moment.
And so he starts saying that a lot of suffering is involved to even get a partner or a lover.
I comença dient que hi ha molt de patiment involucrat en el fet de fins i tot com aconseguir un company o companya.
Yeah, so a lot of effort, time, energy is spent, and a lot of money maybe also, you know, like this fancy dinners and stuff like that.
Que hi posem molt d'esforç, molt de temps, molta energia i fins i tot potser diners com un sopar car o tot això.
Or whatever, jewels, flowers, and so on. I don't know how to do it actually.
Joies, flors i de més. Bueno, no sé, depèn de com ho feu.
And then, the partner is not really like useful actually because he or she is impermanent anyway, you know, it's not really reliable. I mean, her or his emotions can change or feelings can change, but also he or she could just die, you know.
I, de fet, aquest company o companya no és tan útil, en realitat, perquè ell o ella són impermanents. De fet, no podem confiar en ells perquè no tenen emocions en les que puguem confiar, perquè poden anar canviant i fins i tot també poden morir. Així que...
And then his or her body is also very unclean. That's now a big topic.
I també el seu cos és molt poc net. I això és un altre tema important que arriba ara.
And yeah, it's like Milarepa, I think, also said it, that why are we so afraid of corpses? You know, for him, sentient beings who are alive are even more scary because they are like walking corpses, you know, like zombies.
I Milarepa també va dir per què tenim tanta por dels cadàvers si per ell deia que els éssers sintents que estan vius fan fins i tot més por perquè som com cadàvers que caminen, són com zombis.
And it's a strange, Shantideva saying, we are so jealous if somebody is looking at my partner at the moment, you know, but then we are not jealous anymore if he or she is dead, you know, and then everybody can look at her and the vultures even eat her, you know, that is...
I diu que és estrany com dir que de sobte estem gelosos perquè algú està mirant el nostre company o companya en un cert moment, però ell o ella, de sobte, quan moren, tothom pot mirar-los i fins i tot els voltors se'ls poden menjar i a nosaltres ens és una mica igual.
And so he's really talking badly about the body soon, but it's not so bad. It's just like anatomically correct, I think, even. You know, that is how the body is.
I està parlant de manera com molt negativa del cos, però diu com potser en realitat no és tan dolent, perquè en realitat tot és anatòmicament correcte, però té a veure amb com pensem en això.
And it is the only aim is to reduce our attachment to the body. So to reduce our attachment, he is talking badly about the object of our attachment. That is the aim. Yeah.
I aquí l'únic objectiu en realitat és reduir l'aferrament al cos. Llavors, per reduir l'aferrament, està fent servir aquesta tècnica de parlar de manera negativa d'aquest objecte que és el cos en aquest cas.
Because we know from maybe I start with that, because we know from the first chapter also, we have a precious human life. So therefore our human life, human body is very precious, of course, from that perspective. But that is a given for Shantideva because we are already in chapter 8.
I, evidentment, sabem des del capítol 1 que tenim una preciosa vida humana, però això ja se sobreentén per Shantideva, perquè ara en el capítol 8.
So we are not jeopardizing this view or understanding of the preciousness that we have this human body.
I per tant no estem contradient aquesta concepció en què tenim una preciosa vida humana o aquesta preciositat del renaixement humà.
Yeah, and from Sravakayana point of view, the body is important because of that precious human life, and with this body and this life, we can really do whatever is necessary, you know, whatever is meaningful, we can do it. And therefore, the body is helpful for that.
I fins i tot des del punt de vista del Sravakayana, el cos és molt important. Aquesta preciosa vida humana, aquest cos, aquesta vida, amb ells podem fer tot allò que és necessari en el camí. Podem dur-ho a terme. Per tant, aquest cos és realment molt útil.
And in Mahayana, we can even transform our body in something that is beneficial for others, for all sentient beings, you know?
En el Mahayana, fins i tot podem pensar en transformar el nostre cos en alguna cosa que sigui de benefici per als altres.
And yeah, in Vajrayana, we can even understand that our body has always been the deity since beginningless time.
I en el Vajrayana podem fins i tot entendre que el nostre cos sempre ha sigut la deïtat des de temps sense principi.
So please have that always in the back of our mind. Shantideva totally accepts that our body is great, wonderful, and useful, nevertheless, if we're getting too attached to the body of somebody else, then we have to work with our attachment, and therefore Shantideva is showing the ugliness of the body of our partner.
I Shantideva accepta totalment aquest fet que el cos és realment meravellós i molt útil, però del que parla és del que si estem massa aferrats al cos d'una altra persona hem de treballar aquest aferrament i per això està ensenyant tota aquesta lletjor del cos.
So Shantideva is saying, so if you want to have sex with your partner because he or she feels soft, then he says just use a pillow and have sex with the pillow.
Llavors, Shantideva diu, si vols tenir sexe amb el teu company o companya simplement perquè els trobes que és una persona que és suau o que té aquesta qualitat de ser suau, llavors utilitza simplement un coixí i fes sexe amb el coixí, si el que busques és suavitat.
Yeah, sorry, Oscar, and everyone that goes on for a while now like this. So, and Shantideva is saying, if you want to have sex with him or her because he or she smells good, then that is just not true, because if he or she would not wash him or herself for a couple of weeks, the natural bad smell will come out.
Llavors, diu Shantideva, si volem fer sexe amb aquesta persona perquè fa bona olor, això senzillament no és veritat, perquè si no es rentessin durant, un parell de setmanes, l'olor que és naturalment dolenta acabaria sortint.
And if you want to have sex with your partner because he or she is so nice to touch, then just have sex with cotton, It's also very nice to touch.
I si volem fer sexe amb el nostre company o companya perquè ell o ella és com molt agradable al tacte, llavors simplement fem sexe amb cotó, serà igual.
Or this is getting so weird, like now, like 54, if you just like how his or her flesh feels, like then have sex with a corpse,
I llavors, ara s'està començant a posar una mica raro. El vers 54 diu, doncs si t'agrada fer sexe amb el teu company o companya simplement per el tacte de la seva carn o per la sensació que et dona la seva carn, llavors senzillament fes sexe amb un cadàver.
Or if you're saying, no, it's the mind why I want to have sex with my partner, then Shantideva is saying, yeah, the mind you can't touch. So that is not a good argument.
I si és com la ment amb la que vols tenir sexe, llavors Shantideva diu que la ment en realitat no la podem tocar, així que no és un argument que sigui gaire bo.
Or 57, because you say, because he or she is beautiful, therefore I want to do it with my partner. And then Shantideva is saying, then do it with a lotus flower. This is much more beautiful.
Llavors, si diem com que el nostre company o companya són bells o tenen bellesa, Shantideva diu, llavors fes-ho amb una flor de lotus, que és molt més bella.
And in 58, he is saying it's also not, he or she is also not so beautiful actually, because look at what comes out of his or her body, all the excrements and urine and earwax and whatever,
Llavors, diu que sí, fins i tot si considerem aquesta persona com plena de bellesa, doncs que això és una mica mentida, perquè si observem, per exemple, com tot allò que surt del cos de la persona, com els excrements o la cera de les orelles o tot això.
And also his or her origin is also not so clean and pure, because what I said earlier, we all come, I guess, from ovum and sperm, and we know where that came from, so it's like also not such an whatever, I don't know, beautiful, or it's not so clean, sort of. That's what Shantideva is saying.
I fins i tot l'origen d'aquesta persona no és tan net i pur, perquè com hem dit abans, tots venim d'un òvul i un esperma, hem vingut tots d'aquí, així que això tampoc és que sigui una cosa gaire neta i pura. Això és el que diu Shantideva.
And then 65, I think, also like about the smell again, that she or he smells so good, and then Shantideva is saying, no, that's just the perfume of that person, you know. So maybe I don't know. So it's caused by Chanel, you know, or Hugo Boss or whoever, but not by that person, you know. So it's two different things.
I de nou, parlant de l'olor, si diem que ell o ella fan bona olor, això és simplement el perfum de la persona, així que potser és Chanel o el que sigui, però no és aquella persona. Això són dues coses diferents.
And then finally he says, yeah, if we really think they are naturally beauty, our partner is naturally beauty, then again, you know, imagine him or her, if he or she is not washing him herself for a couple of weeks, or not cutting nails, not cutting hair, and all of that. Pretty wild, I think, what what our natural beauty looks like.
I finalment diu que fins i tot si pensem que és una bellesa natural, si hauríem d'imaginar-nos el que passaria si el nostre company o companya no es rentés durant un parell de setmanes, no es tallés les ungles, no el cabell, tot això. Seria bastant salvatge el que en realitat, com és en realitat el que la nostra naturalesa, la nostra bellesa natural.
And of course, if we have attachment to our own body, which I guess we all have, then we also apply all of that to our own body. And then Shantideva concludes that in verse 69.
I llavors també, evidentment, tenim aferrament cap al nostre propi cos, per tant, hem de provar tot això també amb el nostre propi cos. I en aquest sentit és com conclou Shantideva al vers 69.
And so he's saying, so why do we make so much effort to take care of this body, which is actually like a weapon?
I llavors el que diu és per què fem tants esforços en cuidar aquest cos, que en realitat és com un arma que ens fa mal.
And I think that's his conclusion. And just maybe something to make it politically correct, I wanted to say something.
I, per tant, això ha estat com la conclusió i voldria afegir alguna cosa simplement per fer-ho com una mica més políticament correcte.
Yeah, so first of all, I think anatomically he is correct. He's just describing how things are.
I, per tant, primer de tot, ell voldria dir que Shantideva té raó anatòmicament, simplement està descrivint el que existeix, el que està allà.
But how he is addressing it is, of course, based on the situation when he was teaching that.
Però com ho està enfocant, evidentment, té molt a veure amb la situació en la que es trobava quan estava donant aquesta ensenyança en concret.
And so his audience were only monks, male monks, sort of, and I guess he was assuming that they're all heterosexual. So therefore, he was assuming that their object of desire are women, and therefore he is really talking all the time here about a female body. But that is, of course, not meant like that. You know, that only females are like that. But it's, of course, true for everybody.
Així que en aquell moment la seva audiència estava feta només de monjos i Shantideva estava assumint que tots eren heterosexuals, o sigui, assumint que el seu objecte de desig eren dones. Així que parla en tot moment d'un cos femení, però no vol dir que hagi de ser un cos femení, perquè això es podria aplicar i és cert realment per tothom.
Yeah, I think at Shantideva's time, this LGBT or even, what is it, LGBTQI plus was not really well known, you know, in his time. So he was just assuming, okay, these are men, they're heterosexual, and therefore I have to talk badly about a woman's body because that is what they are attached to.
I en temps de Shantideva, potser aquesta cosa més LGBT o LGBTQI+, no es coneixia, no era gaire coneguda, i està assumint que tots aquells qui l'estan escoltant són heterosexuals, i llavors parla de manera negativa de les dones o del cos de la dona perquè és l'objecte d'aferrament d'aquells qui l'escolten.
So therefore, the main thing is it should be like a personal application, of course. And so, yeah, everybody is just invited to know where am I attached to, or to which body I'm attached to, may it be male, female, both, neither, and so on. And then, yeah, you have to. And then Shantideva is asking us to see the ugliness in that object of attachment, only to that we reduce our attachment.
Així que aquí el que és principal és que hauríem d'aplicar-ho de manera personal, evidentment. És a dir, que ens convida que tothom vegi o sàpiga cap a on generem aferrament, cap a quin cos, si masculí, femení, els dos. Shantideva ens demana llavors que fem aquest exercici de veure la lletjor en aquest objecte d'aferrament simplement per ser capaços de reduir l'aferrament.
Okay, and in verse 69, he says, like the entire world is disturbed with insanity because we are so much slaves of our desires, attachments, and so on.
I el vers 69 diu que tot el món està pertorbat de bogeria, perquè som tots esclaus dels nostres desitjos, aferraments, etc.
And then there are a few more verses on further thoughts about our partner. So one thing he mentioned earlier already, that yeah, it's very expensive sort of to get a partner. There's so much time, work, energy, money involved.
I hi ha alguns versos més com consideracions sobre aquest fet de tenir un company o companya, i una de les coses que ha esmentat és que és realment molt car tenir un company o companya. Implica molt de temps, molta feina, molta energia, fins i tot diners.
And then, yeah, I think that is also very true nowadays. Let's say you even found a good partner and you are happy with him or her, and but then, yeah, you have to work like 9 hours per day, and maybe you have 1 hour of back and forth altogether. So, and then you sleep a lot. And so there are not many hours of a day that you can really then enjoy the partner.
I això fins i tot té molt de sentit avui en dia, perquè fins i tot quan hem trobat a un company o companya que estigui bé o que ens agradi i estiguem feliços amb ell o ella, llavors hem de treballar 9 hores al dia, tenim 1 hora d'anada i tornada de la feina i també dormim moltíssim, així que no hi ha moltes hores en les que puguem realment gaudir del temps amb aquest company o companya.
And he is sort of saying then in the evening we come back in the dark, and we actually want to have sex with him or her, but then we are so tired, we fall in bed like a corpse, that's it, just to wake up early in the morning again, to go to work again.
I diu que fins i tot podríem entendre-ho com que a la tarda tornem i enmig de la foscor i volem tenir sexe, però estem tan cansats que simplement caiem al llit com si fóssim un cadàver per dormir i tornar a despertar-nos el dia següent i tornar a fer el mateix.
Or in verse 74, he's saying maybe because of work we have to leave for 3 months or six months, or maybe we have a long distance relationship and so on. And so therefore, why are we so attached? Because we can't use the partner so much anyway.
I el vers 74 diu que, per exemple, potser a causa de la feina hem de marxar 3 mesos o 6 i tenir una relació de distància. I llavors, com és que estem tan aferrats? Perquè, de totes maneres, no podem utilitzar aquest company o companya tant com voldríem o aprofitar-nos d'aquesta situació.
yeah, in regards to the partner or in other situations, just if we have attachment and desire to things, we might do negative things, that even brings consequences with the law, like of the country, or even if we break the law of the country because of desire, because we want to be rich or because we whatever, but also it has karmic consequences if we do negative actions just out of desire.
I en relació amb el company o companya o amb altres coses, el desig i l'aferrament poden portar-nos a realitzar accions negatives que tenen també conseqüències i podem potser anar en contra de la llei a causa del desig perquè vulguem ser rics o el que sigui, però hi ha conseqüències kàrmiques que sovint passen a causa del desig.
So now he's going slowly away from partner, but to wealth and material possessions. So that is the same, of course. If we are too attached to it, we suffer a lot because, again, to obtain it, we do many negative things, and then when we have it, we might need to do negative things to keep it, or we are afraid that we lose it, and at some point we lose it anyway because everything is impermanent, and then again we are frustrated. So therefore, he says, let that go too.
I ara, a poc, Shantideva està movent el discurs des d'aquesta idea del company o companya cap a la riquesa i les possessions materials, dient que també, si ens aferrem a això, també patim moltíssim, perquè per obtenir aquesta riquesa o aquestes possessions sovint hem de fer coses negatives o hem de fer coses negatives per mantenir-la, tenim por de perdre-la i segurament en algun moment la perdem, segur que la perdem per la impermanència i per tant patirem sí o sí, i és a dir que hem de deixar anar això també.
And there's a nice quote by Nagarjuna in Letter to a Friend. I put it in the chat and we'll read through it.
I també hi ha una cita de Nagarjuna, de la carta a un amic, que ha escrit al xat i ara repassarem junts.
I'm sure many of you have studied it. I know Kasavirupa has studied it with Dzongsar Khyentse Rinpoche a couple of years ago.
I estic segur que molts de vosaltres ja l'heu estudiat. Sé que a Kasavirupa la van estudiar amb Dzongsar Khyentse Rinpoche fa un parell d'anys o així.
I found that funny. So like we suffer in proportion to the property we own, and those with little ones have little pains.
I això diu que ho ha trobat una mica graciós, que diu patim en proporció a la propietat que tenim i aquells que tenen pocs desitjos tenen poc dolor.
The headache that afflict the Naga kings are equal to the heads possessed by them.
Els maldecaps que afecten els reis dels Nagas són iguals als caps que posseeixen.
The Nagas, the Naga kings, so they have, it's like a snake with many heads, let's say, and then they have crowns on their head. And of course, if you have a big crown, then you have a big headache, and the more heads you have, the more headache you have. So that is, I thought, a nice quote for this topic here.
I diu que els reis dels Nagas són com serps que tenen molts caps i tenen corones en aquests caps i per tant si tenim grans corones també tindrem uns grans maldecaps i el que és una imatge que li agrada per pensar en això, que quants més caps tinguem, més maldecaps també.
And then 82 is sort of a summary where he says the same thing, like our material things, what we accumulated will definitely be impermanent and we will lose it at some point.
I el 82 és com una mena de resum que diu que totes les coses materials que hem acumulat les perdrem en algun moment.
But because we did so many negative things on the way to accumulate them or protect them, these negative actions we did will create so much future suffering as a karmic consequence.
Però, en canvi, a causa de totes les coses negatives que hem fet per acumular o protegir aquests guanys materials, aquestes accions negatives que hem dut a terme sí que tindran conseqüències kàrmiques en termes de patiment futur.
But he says sort of, but if we would just like a fraction of that effort that we put into material gain, if that fraction of effort we would put on the path to Buddhahood would be possible easily.
I diu que si poséssim només una fracció d'aquest esforç que posem en el fet de guanyar coses de guany material, en aquest guany material, si el poséssim en el camí cap a la budeïtat, segurament ho aconseguiríem molt ràpid.
I think the sixth Dalai Lama was also saying something like, if we would put all our thoughts and concerns and efforts that we put into finding a partner or lover, if we would put that on the path, we would attain Buddhahood this lifetime. I think he said like that. Dalai Lama number 6.
I el sisè Dalai Lama deia que si poséssim tots els pensaments, preocupacions i esforços que posem en el fet de trobar un company o companya, els poséssim en el camí cap a la lliberació, obtindríem la budeïtat en aquesta mateixa vida, una cosa així.
And then he concludes that topic very nicely in verse 85, where he said, if we by that have developed disillusion with desire or attachment.
I diu, conclueix aquest tema d'una manera molt maca o molt bé en el vers 85, que diu, si a causa d'això hem desenvolupat una desil·lusió o desaferrament.
I should generate joy for solitude, so we should aim to physical isolation.
I diu, hauria de generar gaudi o joia cap a la solitud, per tant haurem d'aïllar-nos físicament.
And so there in physical isolation we can stroll in peaceful forests. That's what he's saying.
In peaceful. So and
if we are like in the physical isolation or solitude, he says we can stroll or jump around in peaceful forests.
I diu que si estem en una solitud física, segurament podrem passejar-nos o fer saltironets en un bosc ple de pau.
Yeah, and enjoy the stillness there.
I gaudir de la calma allà.
And that will help us to have this mental isolation, like being free of disputes and negative emotions and so on.
I això ens ajudarà a aconseguir un aïllament mental, d'estar lliures dels pensaments negatius, les emocions, etc.
And then to conclude this topic, verse 88 is then also saying, then we can live there without any desires, without any attachment, and not being chained with anyone.
I el 88 també conclou dient que podem viure allà sense tenir desitjos, aferraments, sense estar lligats a ningú.
And that is then really the conducive place to practice meditation.
I aquest, per tant, és el lloc que és realment adequat o propici per practicar la meditació.
And for that, and we talk about that later also, we need, of course, contentment. That is the result of really letting go of things and renunciation, losing interest in things, that we're content with little things already.
I per això realment necessitem l'acontentament, que és el resultat de perdre coses, de renunciar a elles. Aquest acontentament és molt important.
And contentment is often also by Nagarjuna said to be the best wealth, the more contentment, the more happiness we have.
I també l'acontentament per Nagarjuna és com la veritable riquesa. Quan més acontentats estem, més riquesa tenim, en realitat.
But the opposite, like the more attachment you have to wealth, the less contentment we have.
I al revés, quan més aferrament tenim a la riquesa, menys acontentament tenim.
so therefore, yeah, I think contentment is listed in one of the 7 noble riches. That is contentment is really the wealth.
I per tant, l'acontentament sí que està en la llista de les 7 riqueses nobles, perquè l'acontentament és veritablement una riquesa.
Okay, and by that we conclude what I wanted to talk about this morning, like the introduction basically, and then the conducive conditions for meditation, like physical and mental isolation, that we completed sort of now.
I amb això concloem del que volia parlar aquest matí, que és aquesta introducció i després les condicions que són propícies per a la meditació.
And then this afternoon we speak then on the action meditation, so the main topic will be like meditation on Bodhisattva, Lojong practice, Tonglen practice, and then in the end also Shantideva is a little bit giving advice that it's important to practice also just shamatha, but meditation for him in this chapter is mainly on Bodhisattva.
I quan tornem a la tarda parlarem de la meditació, de la pràctica de la meditació en si. Aquí el tema central serà la bodhicitta o el lojong i també el tonglen, i al final Shantideva acaba donant consells dient que també és important practicar simplement samatha, però per ell realment la pràctica principal en aquest sentit és la bodhicitta.
Yeah, so that's it from my side. So please, let's discuss. We have 17 more minutes, sort of.
Així que això és tot de part seva i, per tant, si us plau, debatim una mica, ens queden 17 minuts.
Just raise your hand physically or virtually.
Tu tens un micro.
Hi, Arne. Do you hear me?
Yes, better.
Okay. Thank you for the teachings. I wanted to ask you something. I understand this contemplation of the difficulties and frustrations and expectations that relationships with samsaric beings entail being a samsaric being.
Since everybody else is moving apart from Kasavirupa, I think it's them. I see all of you others in the Zoom, you're moving, but they don't. So I think it's not our problem. Berta, we lost you.
Yes,
In real life, Berta doesn't look that pixely. Now I think maybe it's better, I don't know. You're not really moving at all.
Okay.
Now,
yeah. Can you hear us?
Now it's better. Yes, now I can. Yeah.
Okay. So the question is, how to do this kind of contemplation while being surrounded by samsaric beings? So not before going to a retreat, but really in the middle of relationships, work and all this. I see it can be a little bit problematic to be thinking on the difficulties of having these relationships and at the same time having to take care of them, but at the same time wanting to counter the attachment we have.
Pots traduir, Berta?
Val, la pregunta és com podem estar fent aquesta contemplació sobre les dificultats de tenir relacions amb éssers samsàrics sent un ésser samsàric, però no abans d'anar-te'n a retir i aïllar-te, sinó enmig de relacions, feina i d'haver de cuidar relacions, però alhora voler reduir l'aferrament.
Yeah, maybe it's like I think in biology it's like semi-permeable. Do you know that word? No, okay, it doesn't matter. So, which means like there are two directions, you know, what in the relationship with somebody or with anybody, like how we are with them and how they are with us, sort of.
I per exemple, aquí podríem utilitzar un terme de la biologia que seria semipermeable, no sé si ho coneixeu, que vol dir que hi ha dues direccions en la relació que tinguem amb qualsevol persona, com som nosaltres amb aquesta persona i com aquesta persona és amb nosaltres.
So like our relationship to them, yeah, there should, like ideally there's love, compassion, wisdom, you know, what we share with them and what we give them. So that is like the that is how what we give to them and how we see them, how we react to them. As a bodhisattva, that would be ideal. Yes.
I en termes de la relació que tenim nosaltres amb aquestes persones, sempre hauria d'estar basada en la compassió, en la saviesa, això és el que nosaltres els donem. Així és com els veiem i com reaccionem. Això com a bodhisattva és el que seria ideal.
And then, yeah, but of course we try to filter out all the negative things that we have, you know, we don't share our anger or rage or arrogance, jealousy with them, you know. We want, as bodhisattvas, we try to share positive, beneficial things with them.
I, evidentment, intentem filtrar totes les coses negatives que tenim. No compartim la ira o la ràbia que puguem sentir, els gelos. Intentem compartir sempre coses positives i que siguin de benefici com a bodhisattvas.
But of course, we can talk also about, oh, I'm jealous or I'm angry, you know, and then discuss that. That could be, that is a positive thing, you know, if we share these things with others. That is not a problem.
Però, evidentment, sí que podem parlar del fet d'estar gelosos o enfadats. Això, si ho compartim tranquil·lament amb els altres, això és una cosa positiva.
And then the other way around, how they are behaving towards us, if they are samsaric beings or if we perceive them as samsaric beings.
Però, i llavors, al revés, com es comporten ells cap a nosaltres, si els veiem si són éssers samsàrics o els veiem com a éssers samsàrics.
Then, of course, they are also good and bad, you know, they are also a mixture of both, you know.
Llavors, evidentment, són bons i dolents, són una barreja de les dues coses.
And of course, their love, support, qualities, their insights, knowledge, and whatever. Yes, we can be open to that, definitely.
I, evidentment, el seu amor, la seva comprensió, les seves qualitats, podem estar oberts a això, sí, sens dubte.
But the only thing that Shantideva is saying here in these verses that we should protect and isolate ourselves from their negative influence, you know, if they are negatively influencing us with their confusion, with their aggression, with their wrong views.
Però el que diu aquí Shantideva és que del que ens hauríem de protegir és de la seva influència negativa, si ens estan influent de manera negativa a través de la confusió, l'agressió o la seva visió errònia.
Yeah, so maybe my initial thing was wrong with the semi-permeable. I didn't think it through. So basically, like there has to be a filter on both sides, you know, like what we give should be only positive and we filter out or eliminate the negative. And what we receive, yes, let's try also to only get the positive and then try not to get influenced by the negative of them.
I potser llavors el primer que ha dit sobre aquest terme semipermeable estava una mica equivocat, no ho havia pensat del tot, perquè sí que hi ha d'haver un filtre a les dues bandes. El que donem hem d'intentar que sigui només positiu i filtrar tot allò que és negatiu, però també allò que rebem, intentar que ens arribi allò positiu i no deixar que ens influenciï tot allò que és negatiu.
Yeah, and I think if this filter is a little bit intact, then relationships can work well. I'm not talking about partnership necessarily, but any relationship. And of course, we are all in this together. And it's good that we are there for each other.
I, per tant, si mantenim com aquesta cosa una mica intacta, les relacions poden funcionar molt bé. No només relacions de company o companya, sinó qualsevol tipus de relacions. Estem en això junts i, per tant, està bé que ens puguem fer suport els uns als altres.
But really, the context is just like that here at the moment, that Shantideva wants to establish what is really helpful for a peaceful and calm mind. And then it is, one needs to isolate oneself and protect oneself from super samsaric beings, like if you, there are beings who have very wrong views, for example, and who are super emotional, or who are maybe manipulating you or gaslighting you, So one has to protect oneself from that.
Llavors, el que és important aquí, del que parla Shantideva, és del context en què és útil controlar una mica aquest context, que sigui un context que sigui útil, que sigui ple de pau, però també, per altra banda, que ens protegim, que ens aïllem dels altres éssers, en el sentit que poden ser, potser podem trobar-nos amb un ésser que tingui una influència negativa, que ens sigui molt manipulador, que ens manipuli o que ens porti cap a una banda equivocada. Això també és perillós i ens n'hem de protegir.
But at the same time, as one is protecting oneself, as I said, one is totally loving them, and being compassionate and supportive and helpful to them.
Però al mateix temps que ens protegim d'aquests éssers, evidentment també estem estimant-los totalment i intentant com beneficiar-los al mateix temps.
And Yvonne is writing in the chat, what about equanimity? So let's think about that.
I Yvonne ha escrit al xat i què passa amb l'equanimitat, així que pensem una mica en això.
So what Shantideva here is saying is, of course, only a method, it's not the aim, it's only a method to have the right conditions to meditate properly. And then in that right condition, it's easier to develop equanimity to all sentient beings, and then go back to the world and be the Bodhisattva who is even appearing in samsara in all the catastrophes and suffering to benefit others. But in order to be able to do that, one needs a proper training camp, which is the forest here.
I el que diu Shantideva és que això simplement és un mètode per tenir les condicions adequades per meditar de forma també adequada, i que en aquestes condicions és més fàcil desenvolupar l'equanimitat i llavors tornar al món i aparèixer a Samsara per beneficiar els altres. Però per ser capaços de fer això necessitem entrenament, i l'entrenament aquí és el bosc.
But still, even if we leave the city, let's say, and go to the mountains, when leaving the city, we are not like the opposite of equanimity. We are not partial and saying, "Oh, these are friends and enemies." That, of course, Shantideva is not saying that. He's just saying we should, remove ourselves from the samsaric influence. And yes, it's a dualistic method. Yes, but still, it's it's a method, and therefore it's okay that it's dualistic. But if we then get the training in the forest or in the mountain, then we are maybe getting that strong, that we can even be among very samsaric beings without getting a negative influence.
I encara, tot i així, encara que marxem de la ciutat i anem a les muntanyes, quan estem marxant no estem simplement, no és oposat a l'equanimitat, no és parcial en realitat. Aquests són amics o enemics, però el que simplement estem dient, no estem dient que aquests siguin amics o enemics, simplement ens estem apartant una mica de la influència samsàrica. És un mètode que és dualista, sí, però és un mètode i per tant no passa res si és dualista. I el que és important aquí és que si ens anem a entrenar al bosc o a la muntanya, podem potser desenvolupar una fortalesa que ens permeti estar fins i tot entre éssers samsàrics sense rebre una influència negativa.
And I think the biggest example is, of course, Prince Siddhartha again, who lived in a palace, let's say that is like Berlin, and it's like or maybe Zurich is better, like you have everything in Switzerland, you have everything what you need, everything is perfect, everyone is beautiful, not even a flower is withering, but he left that. It was totally worldly and samsaric in the palace.
Per exemple, podríem pensar en el príncep Siddhartha, que va marxar de Palau, que en aquest cas podríem dir que aquest Palau fos Berlín, o millor, Zúrich, perquè a Suïssa la gent ho té tot és molt perfecte, tothom és molt vell, no hi ha ni una flor que s'estigui podrint, però fins i tot i així Siddhartha va marxar del Palau.
And it was not because he hated the palace or the people in the palace, like his family or friends, but just he understood that is not conducive for his spiritual path. Therefore, he had to leave with love. He left with love. It was not a dysfunctional relationship.
I no va marxar perquè odiés el Palau o a la gent del Palau, com a la família o els amics, sinó que simplement ho va fer perquè no eren condicions adequades. Va marxar amb amor, no perquè fos una relació disfuncional.
And then he went to the symbolic forest. It was not, of course, not only a forest, but yeah, in the end, he sat under a tree, and not in a city or in a monastery, but under a tree, and so that was his training. His solitude, and then he accomplished perfect equanimity and unconditional love and limitless wisdom, and then he could come back, to his, and he came back and taught his family and previous friends.
I per això va marxar cap a un bosc una mica simbòlic, que no era realment del tot un bosc, sinó que va trobar un arbre, és a dir, que i va seure sota un arbre, és a dir, que no ho va fer en una ciutat o en un monestir. I aquest va ser el seu entrenament, la solitud, que el va permetre desenvolupar compassió i saviesa perfectes. I d'aquesta manera tornar al món i ho va fer. Va tornar i va ensenyar a la seva família, va donar ensenyances a la família i als amics.
And Emilia is writing in the chat, maybe is it the case also for some monks who leave the monastery to go back to samsaric life, and marry even somebody, if maybe that is comparable to that?
I l'Emília està escrivint al xat que potser també és el cas per als monjos que marxen del monestir i tornen a la vida samsàrica i potser fins i tot es casen amb algú. Si ho podem comparar amb això, el que estem dient.
And I think the best Buddhist answer to that is, it depends.
Llavors, l'Arne creu que la millor resposta budista a això és depèn.
Yeah, let's say some do it really like with that view after having that great training, they go in the world, maybe make even kids and mingle with ordinary beings to benefit them, definitely.
I llavors diguem que segurament alguns ho fan amb aquest tipus de visió, que després d'un entrenament molt profitós van a la ciutat, tenen fills, filles i es barregen amb els altres éssers per beneficiar-los, definitivament.
But then I guess also there are some who just who don't do it with that big motivation, big heart and strength, but just because, they're victims of their desire, and therefore they give up their robes, and they just have attachment to worldly life, and that's why, unfortunately, they go there.
Però també hi ha d'altres que no ho fan amb aquesta motivació, amb aquest cor tan bondadós, sinó que són víctimes del desig i que deixen els seus hàbits per aferrament a la vida mundana.
Yeah, on this inauspicious note, let's have lunch.
I en aquesta nota inauspiciosa, doncs anem a dinar.
Yeah, I'm joking, of course, but it's it always depends on the motivation, and I think in that case, it could be really both. But generally, I think that's good enough. Yeah.
Sí, estic de broma, evidentment. Crec que en aquest cas té a veure amb la motivació i que podria ser de les dues bandes, però bueno, ho podem deixar aquí.
But here, really, Shantideva's thing is really not meant misanthropic, or that you want to get rid of people and that you don't love them or even hate them. That is really not, of course, not his thing. It's just to have a temporal distance to come back in a more beneficial way,
I aquí realment el que hem de tenir en compte és que el que diu Shantideva no és una cosa misàntropes que tingui a veure amb el fet de desfer-se de la gent, que els odiem, no té a veure amb això, sinó que parla d'una distància una mica temporal per ser capaços de tornar sent més beneficiosos.
Okay, shall we break here and maybe we do some dedication prayers and then we meet in 5 hours again, right?
Llavors farem ara una pausa més llarga, potser podem fer unes oracions de dedicació i llavors ens tornem a trobar en 5 hores.
Is that okay, Lama Nobu?
Yes. Arne.
Gracias. By this merit, having attained omniscience and defeated the enemy of wrongdoing, may I free all beings from the ocean of existence with its tumultuous wave of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Just as the heroic Manjushri, who knows everything as it is, and as Samantabhadra likewise did too, just so to follow all of them and train myself, I perfectly dedicate these meritorious actions. May the precious Supreme Bodhisattva arise in those in whom it has not arisen. Having arisen, may it not diminish, but ever expand more and more. As long as space remains, and as long as the world remains, may I too remain to elevate the suffering of the world. May I, in each and every lifetime, carry the weight of Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings. And if I cannot bear that weight, at the very least, may I be born with the burden of thinking that the Buddha Dharma could reign.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a nice lunch.
So yeah, thank you. See you in sort of 5 hours.